Hey guys, what's up? It's Chris Doe here for another edition of a live critique. On today's show, we're going to be talking about your logo design. I know this is a very popular topic, and so we got a meaty episode. Look at this, guys. I got markers. I got a pen. I got some paper. We're going to do some funny things, and we're joined this week with a special guest. It's not Min, but it's just as good, if not better. So first off is Ben Burns and then Jamie Van Wart. You guys, hello to the people.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Can you give it a little bit more? Like, Ben Burns, who are you again?
Hey, everybody. I'm Ben Burns. I'm the digital director here at Blind and a contributor for the Futur.
Awesome. And
I'm Jamie Van Wart. I'm an art director here at Blind.
Awesome. You guys, let's roll the main title. Welcome back to the show. I think we're going to try to keep this around an hour, but you know how these things go. It could get a little out of control. And I'm deciding to do this in 3 segments, okay? So there will be a little bit of a break, so if it gets a little long, you need to go to the bathroom, we'll prompt you when you can do that. And so we're going to just jump right in. Can we share my screen, Aaron? Hopefully you guys are hearing me okay on Facebook Live and YouTube. Mr. Ben Burns will be monitoring your questions and comments. At a point in the show, we're going to invite the people who submitted their logos, the winners especially, to jump on the call with us. So you'll need to get onto Facebook, and you're going to need to friend me and call me, okay? And I'll prompt you when to do that. All right, so this week we're going to be focusing on logo design. So please keep your questions focused on logo design. I appreciate it. Next week we'll figure out a different theme, and we'll just kind of keep doing this as we go. So the natural thing is you're going to ask yourself, and we need to talk about this, what is a logo? And a good place to start is to go pick up this book from Marty Neumeier. I think it's a phenomenal book. It's called The Brand Gap. I make $0 on this, except for if you guys use my Amazon affiliate link. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But The Brand Gap, and I'm going to tell you some of the important parts in The Brand Gap. It comes from the very first pages. So what is a logo? A logo is short for logo type. And that's a fancy way of saying a custom lettered word. And a lot of people use the word logo or logo type when they really mean a trademark, something that represents a brand name for a company. It's something that you can protect and own, okay? So a trademark can be many different things, and it can be here twice, but a trademark can be a logo, a symbol, a monogram, an emblem, or other graphic device. So there's a lot of different classifications as what a trademark can be, okay? Now, just to give you a slightly different take on that is Michael Beirut, and there's a great video with Michael Beirut talking about logos produced by Vox. And he says there are 3 types of logos. It's a word mark, which is the one that we're most familiar with, which is custom lettering, and sometimes not so custom, but just lettering. And then the second kind of logo type is pictorial. So it looks like what it is. It's like an illustration of an apple, and that would be a pictorial logo type. And the last one is abstract iconography. And do you guys know of some examples of abstract iconography?
Well, speaking from the video, it's like the MIT thing from Michael Beirut.
Well, the MIT thing, if it has the letters, then that would be a word mark. But an abstract logo type would be the Nike swoosh.
The chase symbol.
An abstract iconography would be the
chase
symbol.
Doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean anything.
Those connection pieces from the MIT.
Okay, if you just break the pieces apart. Yeah. They're just really abstract, and they had meaning over time. Okay. Another one that is referenced in that exact video is the Pepsi Smile. It's kind of like that little swooshy kind of shape. Adidas has something like that, the 3 bars. So now we're starting to think like Converse has that like right angle thing with the star.
We are on shoes today.
Well, that's just where I'm at. I'm riffing, dude. So we were stuck a little bit about abstract iconography. Okay. So the people have submitted a bunch of different things that fall into one of these categories, or a combination of all these things, and that's called the logo system or the identity system, okay? So before we get into the review of specific submissions from you guys, I'm going to talk about some general rules, and I want to set it up to that Ben Burns, myself, and Jamie, we may agree on lots of things, but we may disagree, and it's okay for us to disagree and have different points of view. So you guys can select who you connect with, who you relate to, and whatever advice you want to follow or not to follow. We could just be three jerks in a room talking about logos. Who knows? And you don't have to listen to anybody. All right? All right, the first little rule that I have for you guys is logos need to be legible from 6 feet away. That means that if you were to scale your logo down into a ½ inch square, and this is just an approximate representation of what a ½ inch square looks like, you'll start to think about how to design your logo a little bit differently. So if you think about the amount of space you're working with, it's very small. And this rule comes from traditional identity design where you'd have to apply a logo onto a business card. So let's see here. I happen to have a business card here from a potential client. So can we cut to my camera, Aaron? See this business card? This is not a lot of real estate. Now, oddly enough, a traditional identity system has a business card, has an envelope, and has a letterhead. And the irony of it is the most amount of information is packed on the smallest real estate. The business card contains the most amount of information and has the smallest space to work with. So in America, it's a 2 inch by 3.5 inches wide. And so you see how small the logo is, and this one is like some kind of icon, right? And it's just an abstract symbol, abstract iconography. So what happens when you take your logo type and you reduce it down to a tiny little square? So think about that. So that's the first rule. From 6 feet away, can you read the logo? And there's things that you can do to help with legibility there. Okay, so I've created a little matrix here of some of the highest voted logos. And this is what it looks like when I scale it down. You'll see that some are more legible than others. And just to help out with legibility, I did scale this up. So if I actually kept this to a ½ inch square, you can start to see that some of these are going to be very hard to read. And there's some things that you can do to help out. All right. The first thing that you can do is to make sure you design your logo so that it can be legible in black and white. So there's the ABC logo. Did Paul Rand design the ABC logo? Does anybody know? I think he did. Jamie's shaking her head. You guys have the internet. You do realize.
We have 2 internets.
Yeah, you can check who designed the ABC logo and keep me honest there. So when you guys are designing logos, it's often recommended that you draw and work in black and white. So before you go and rendering things, bing, I got a thumbs up.
Paul Rand.
See my graphic design knowledge, you guys? I'm old. Sometimes it helps out.
Okay, so steel trap.
Design in black and white. And the other reason why you want to design in black and white is I call it the squint test. When you squint your eyes and when you're learning how to draw and look at things, learning how to see, oftentimes in art school and design school, they'll tell you to squint, look at things, because what you do is you reduce what you can see into like very contrasty things. And so we need to design for things that reproduce well in black and white, that it's really legible. And so far, you guys, if you want to jump in and cut me off or disagree, feel free to. So far, I had not said anything controversial, I don't think. Okay. The logo that you design needs to be versatile. You got to be thinking now in the digital age, a logo is used on a lot of different things. It's used on printed applications. It's used as a little favicon. Is it called a favicon? Mm-hmm. The tiny little 16 by 16 pixel thing that's up in your browser. It needs to look good in a circle and a square. And why is that? Because when you're talking about your avatar on Facebook, Twitter, or on Instagram, or wherever else you are, you need to be able to read it in a tiny little amount of space. So what does it look like? So sometimes you'll need to change the configuration of your logo. Logos that are very wide tend to have problems being reduced into a square or circle. Take, for example, the Futur logo. The Futur logo, which is not anywhere here. Great job, Chris. The Futur logo is broken up, and we have a horizontal version and we have a square lockup that looks good in both forms, and it feels like they're the same logo. It's not like an alien creature came in and created two logos. Okay.
And I think that's probably a good place to put like a disclaimer.
Okay.
Because the logos that we're going to be reviewing today, we only have one size and shape of them. So designers, we know that there's probably a whole style guide hopefully behind that, and you have different versions. So that's the disclaimer that we're going to be reviewing.
You're more optimistic than I am, Mr. Denver.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay. Now, if we go back to this grid here, I can tell you that some of them are going to work a lot better than others. Even at this size, you can see that there's going to be problems with some of these. So if you know it works in a square, it doesn't matter how big it is, it's still going to work. Mm-hmm. because it's already designed to work, to fill in the real estate that you're given.
So we are getting some questions on what the contest was, how people submitted. Can we do like a little overview on that?
Why don't we do that, Mr. Ben Burns? That's a good place for you to start talking.
Definitely, absolutely. So getting a lot of questions on YouTube and Facebook about where to submit and stuff like that. Stay tuned to our social medias, our email blast, our website. It's all over those. Basically, these, how many do you have here? 12? 16?
We have a lot more than 12, but yeah, this is 16.
Okay, so the top 16 logos here were voted on by just counting likes on Instagram. So the contest was basically post your logo and get your friends to vote you up, and then we would review the top however many logos with the most votes. So
Yeah.
that's where these came from.
Yeah, and so we structure, Ben calls it a contest, but it's not even really a contest. You guys may not realize this, but we have a global audience of people from all over the world, and they're constantly hitting me up on the social channels to say, Chris, review my website, review my logo, and it comes to a point in which I can't review, and I don't want you guys to think I'm rude, and maybe I am rude, but I just don't have enough time. I can't review your work individually, right? So this is a way for you to get your work talked about on air and to have a discussion with us. So we're going to have you call in a little bit, so stay tuned for that in just 1 second. And so when we're going to talk about motion design, as we did last week, that was the time to get in on that. So today it's about logo design. I have no idea what it's going to be next week. If you guys have suggestions, go ahead and comment below. And how do we pick who we're going to talk about? If we get 100 submissions, we can only do so many. And I'd rather give you quality versus quantity. So the way we decided was the people need to vote. So if people voted something up, we'll review your work. And we decided just to throw in something fun this week, that the person who got the most votes will get a blind notebook. And Ben's going to hold it up right there. Vanna White, right there. It's a beautiful, shiny thing. It's awesome. It comes in a poly bag, and they're custom notebooks, and you can't get them any other way. They're not for sale. You basically have to work for blind, and that's how you get them. And somebody's going to run in here in a second and say, I work for blind and I don't have a notebook. We'll take care of you later, okay? So that's how we do these kind of things. I also wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think of the lighting setup? We're always doing experiments here. We're going for a more darker cinematic look, and if you guys like it, I don't know why I put my Batman voice on, but if you like it, let us know. If you like the brighter setup, or if you want us in a different environment, just let me know, okay? Let's keep going. Or do you have more questions? Mr. Burns?
No more questions at this point, so let's keep rolling.
Let's jump back onto the deck. Aaron, if you can cut back to my screen. We left off at black and white. We said versatile. So here's another thing you guys want to think about, and I'm going to explain this as we go and dive deeper into the individual submissions themselves. Shape versus line. And what do I mean by that? When you're drawing your logo, really think about form and don't think about the lines, okay? So if you're going to draw something, and there's a couple of examples, think about the weight of the line. It has to be thick enough so that it reads. Imagine that as a half-inch square, again, shape versus line, and it'll make a lot more sense once we dive into the individual crits. Next up is try to avoid jumping on fashionable trends. Try to avoid using the flavor of the month typeface or whatever is in style at the moment. You're ultimately doing a disservice to your client because in a year, in 6 months, when that trend goes away, you're basically saying, throw away everything you've printed and built, and we're going to start over again. And this is why really large companies, multi-billion-dollar multinational companies, have what you would consider a typeface for a logo. Because that typeface is not going to go out of style. And what they'll do is they'll just do like one little embellishment or just a custom lockup. They're going to tweak one letter form or add, like in the case of the Verizon logo, just the red check mark. That's all they need to do, because it's going to be used on lots of different things for a really long time. And to reprint that sucker, it's going to be a disaster. Okay, so this is where I net out on being less trendy and more timeless. You guys have a different point of view on that?
I agree.
Totally agree.
So far, we're in agreement.
We are.
I can't believe it.
We're talking to you, hipster logo designer. That's right.
You need to say that in the Budweiser voice. Mr. Hipster Logo Designer. All right. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Here's to you.
Yep, here's
All
to
right.
you.
Here's to you. The last little part that I'm going to talk about, and it's not little by any means, is does your logo have an idea? What's the idea? And what do I mean by that even? And this is where traditional math doesn't add up. This is the sum of the part, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, okay? So 1 plus 1 equals 10. When you combine two things together and it creates a whole new meaning, that's awesome. That's a perfect 10 to me. I'm going to show you some logos, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So here's the FedEx logo, a little bit off-center for some reason. The FedEx logo, for most people, we're going to do a little test here. Everybody that's watching this video, if you've been paying attention, how would you classify this logo type?
Just type it in the comments below.
Type it in the comments below. And Ben Burns, read it out.
What are the 3 options?
There's more than 3 options, but I thought they would just memorize it, but here.
There we go. 4, 5.
What are they saying?
We got logo type from manufacturer, word mark from Mike Sierra.
Mm-hmm. All good?
Clever as, well, I'm not gonna. Logo type, word mark, letter form.
Perfect. You guys are all paying attention. So if you're following Michael Beirut's breakdown, it's a word mark. Marty Newmeyer, it's a logo type. It's just a word, okay? And now we're gonna get back into this. Okay. Now when I say 1 plus 1 equals 10, can anybody tell me where the idea is? Where is the thing that makes the FedEx logo unique and interesting to what the company does?
Bonus points if you know what that space is called.
All right, so there's a 2-parter. What's the idea? Does anybody know?
The arrow.
The
Chelsea.
arrow. Who says that?
Chelsea Cure.
Chelsea, good job. The arrow. Now, most people don't see it, and I hope you guys can see my arrow. You guys can see that, right? My pointer, the cursor, right? I'm drawing it here.
And manufacturer was the only one that put negative space. So
No.
points.
Well, I wasn't looking for that. Okay, but that's good. Okay, so you see in the negative space between the E and the X is this arrow, because FedEx gets the packages there fast. It's about moving things around the world. Okay, so a lot of people don't see that. I think this logo was designed by Landor and Associates. I'm not sure. The fact checkers will keep me honest. This is like CNN, but DNN for Design News Network. Okay, so in there, that's in the negative space. All right, awesome. Next one. Next up, Amazon. Okay, and I'm gonna just talk to you guys about the idea. Now, I don't love this typeface. It's a little bit whimsical for me. But I really like the thinking of it.
Did you say Landor?
Yeah.
It was Landor.
I'm
Boy,
2 for 2.
Oh my God.
I'm batting 1,000 here, guys. Right? I know my business, and sometimes I know my design. All right. Amazon logo. What I love about the Amazon logo isn't the letter forms themselves, because it's a little funny to me, is that it's a smile. You guys see that? It's a smile right there. And this is what I feel like. I get a little present. Every day I come into the office and ask John, who's our office manager, is that Amazon package for me? And he's like, no. So I feel like I need to order something from Amazon because I'm going to get a little gift. The other thing that's cool about Amazon is Amazon, like, is in the Amazon jungle. It's like it's got the most abundant variety of species of plants and animals, right? Great concentration. If you think about that, so Amazon has everything from A to Z. So this has 2 ideas in it. It's got a smile, and it's got the A to Z.
I don't
Pretty
know
cool.
if they're smarter than you, but YouTube already had it before you even started talking. A to Z and the smile.
So it's great. You guys are doing a great job. So we have the right audience here.
That's right.
All right, here's another one. This one I found through the Instagram feed of Logo Inspirations, which is, I think, Jonathan Rudolph. And this one's called Checklist. And guess what? The E of checklist is a checklist. It's pretty cool. And I think it's like, sometimes these can get really gimmicky and goofy. This one is not at all to me. This one's really nice because I think they found a typeface that the weights and the way it's drawn work with the E. The E doesn't feel like a foreign character. And I love these kind of solutions because you can basically simply modify the existing letter form without distorting it. So all they're doing is cutting it a little bit, and it creates a nice little idea.
Now, for me, the line between cliche and good is so thin. They nailed it here, right? But for my personal practice, whenever I sit down to design a logo, I have make it a hard and fast rule not to replace any letters in the name with any icons or anything like that because it's so close every time. But that's
Jamie,
just me.
jump in the water.
That's just me.
I think it's all about, can you still read the word and does it still feel like it was made in the same typeface? I've seen some examples where the little icon or illustration that replaces the letter kind of takes priority over the word, and those cases are not successful to me. This one seems to work because it doesn't really interrupt the flow of the word.
Okay, so you have 3 slightly different takes on it. Ben's concerned about that fine line between cliche. And do you know what a cliche is?
Oh man, let me just go to the internet.
No, I'll tell you what a cliche is. A cliche is an overused idea. Okay? So it's not necessarily the integration of the thing, which is what Jamie's concerned about, is does it disrupt and does it feel disharmonious, or whatever, discordant to the design? Like you just jam it in there and there's no connection. It feels very forced and juxtaposed. So if it's an overused idea. Now, oh gosh, I don't want to say it. Okay, we'll keep moving on. The last one is this one, Teapot Creations. What's this all about? Teapot Creations. So this one has like a dual
I'm thinking
image.
it's a film company.
It's a film company called Teapot Creations. So they're using a film reel, and you can see the film reel. And those of us that are in the business can see that, you know, those 5 circles around this thing is a film reel, and it looks like a teapot. And it also could be the beginning and end of the film coming off the thing. So I like this a lot too. And they've done a little bit of a modification on the P, the descender of the P, and they've cut it so that it fits within the A. Now, one thing that you'll realize in sometimes designing a logo type with as a word mark, it's all just about finding the right typeface to communicate a feeling and getting the letter forms to be balanced and well spaced together. And that's pretty much 80% of the challenge. Just getting it to fit together tightly and to be bold and legible. Okay? All right. I just wanted to give a shout out because I grabbed 2 of those from Logo Inspirations. So you can follow Logo Inspirations on Instagram. We're becoming fast friends. All right. So here's the review, the checklist, and then we're going to jump right in to critiquing your logos. Okay. So here's the checklist. You guys maybe you can do a screen capture if you need to. The 6-foot rule, make sure it reads from far away. So the test is just to scale it down and sometimes print it out. Literally print it out within a ½ inch square and see if you can read it. It'll inform how you need to design the logo moving forward. Does it work in black and white? Is it clear and legible? Meaning, sometimes when the letter forms are getting too tricky, it becomes very hard to read. And there are logo types, word marks, that are designed by professionals, people that you like and admire very much, where I think what the design decisions they make actually make it harder to read. That's a no-no for me. Can it translate to other mediums? Thinking about shape versus line. Making sure you don't jump on the latest trend because your logo type will date itself. You'll look back and it's like, oh, that feels like 1990s logo. And is there an idea? Does 1 + 1 = 10? All right. Should we take our first break or should we jump in?
Well, I think we should jump in with the number 1. What do you think?
All right. I'm trying to follow your rule every 20 minutes.
All right.
Okay. So let's jump in. So we're.
Is it 20 minutes?
Yeah, it's 6:24.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Sorry
right.
about that. My bad.
So we're gonna take our first break here, you guys. Let's answer some questions and then we'll jump back in.
All right.
What are some questions? Anybody have anything to say? How many viewers do we got?
We have 183 on YouTube and 66 on Facebook, so
Okay.
highest one yet. One question I saw earlier in the feed is, how do you make a timeless logo? What does that mean?
That's a great question. I'm going to throw it to Jamie. Jamie, how do you make a timeless logo? Don't shake me off like a flea on a dog. How do you make a timeless logo, Jamie? That's a great question. Who asked that?
It's way up there.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
all right. It's good.
Sorry.
Okay. Jamie?
I think going back to the basics of typography, just avoiding fonts that are really gimmicky, that feel really trendy. Like if you're seeing it all over the place, you might not see it.
Okay, let me ask you this question. You see Helvetica all over the place, and some people like Helvetica's overplayed, you know, it's played out. Is Helvetica trendy? Is it, you know, by just what you said, if I react that way, what would you say?
I don't know, I'd say it's trendy. I would say like Helvetica is kind of a safe bet because it's still being used and it was designed quite a long time ago. So it's durable. Like it has established itself as a font that has staying power.
Yeah.
Right. It's
I think it can be used to make trendy looking design, but I don't think that the typeface itself, I wouldn't consider that trendy.
Okay. I know a lot of people would argue that it is trendy, but I think it's because they lack the context of the history of the typeface and how it wasn't the typeface designed to end all typefaces.
Yes.
Like the one typeface you would ever use for everything. It was so neutral. It's a Swiss typeface, right? It's just like the Swiss to do that. Just the one thing that's perfectly universal. You can use it for a hospital, you can use it for road signs, you can use it for a poster, for horror films, you can use it for just about everything. And very few fonts can do that. Anybody else have any tips on timeless design?
Actually, yeah, from the YouTube audience.
Okay, what are they saying?
Let me find it again.
Well, let me know
Okay.
when you find it.
Basher says timeless equals based on foundations rather than trends, which is
Well, that's not that's not a
Sums it
great
up, man.
definition. No, I'll
I
tell
like
you
it.
why.
I like
You
it.
can't say timeless design is about making things that are without time and against trend. It's using the very words to define it. Let me say it this way, you guys. Let's think about this. Let's take fashion into play, which itself is trendy. The word fashion is about what's in fashion, right? What's of the moment. So we know that the basics work really well, and certain things do not go out of style. And we think, well, what doesn't go out of style? Like the basic t-shirt, a pair of blue jeans or black slacks, and that's it. But if you have flared bell bottoms, that becomes a trend. So it's like reducing it down to like minimal things helps to avoid it to becoming a trend. And if you use typefaces that have been designed for over 10, 20, 30 years, and it still feels fresh today, that's a good start. And if you guys don't know this already, I've already compiled a list of typefaces that you should use. If you stick with one of the 20 or so that I recommend, chances are you're gonna go off to a really great start, okay?
You can find that on our website. Just go to the website. Click
Where's the
Start
website?
Here. It's thefuture.com.
All right, so that's one other way. That was a great question. So should we jump back in?
Let's jump back in.
All right, so are we announcing the winner, Ben?
I think so.
Okay, so now we're on my screen, right? Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Here we go. And the winner that got the most likes on Instagram is none other than R.J.J. Ambaro.
I think it's like RJ Jambaro.
All right, R.J. Jambaro,
RJ.
you are the winner.
You won the book. Congratulations. Woo!
So, so we'll figure out with you later. Direct message Mr. Ben Burns on Facebook with your address, and we'll send you the book. Now, I think we're going to be limited to United States, so hopefully you're in the U.S. It presents all sorts of problems when you're not in the U.S., okay? So here's this logo, and it's the Midas, and Midas is known for the golden touch, so the hand makes a lot of sense. So let's jump in and critique this, you guys. What can we do to make this mark better? What do you guys have to say?
So my overall impression, I mean, I don't hate it. I think we can improve on it, and what I am missing is the story behind it, especially when we're dealing with like the border around the thing. Yeah, that's my initial take.
Okay, so Mr. Ben Burns doesn't hate it, and he wants a story.
Yeah.
When you say you want a story behind it, what do you mean?
Well, there's reasons. There should be reasons why you do everything. And matter of fact, I'm going to switch over to my screen if I could.
Go
See
ahead.
if this works.
Bren's gonna break the internet.
That work? Can you guys see my screen?
It takes a second, Ben.
All right, let's see.
My screen's all messed up now.
Oh.
It's okay. Go ahead.
All right, so basically, you know, there's this shape. The outline that goes around the whole piece it's really jagged, and what I was looking for here is, hit the button again.
You gotta be selected on your channel, dude. Count two.
Okay, I hit the button, it's on
Your
two.
screen will change once you do it, Ben. I'm glad you guys rehearsed this. I will do the monkey dance while Ben is doing this, and I will read some questions while Ben's sorting this thing out.
Okay.
Hmm?
Oh, hey-oh, I think we got it.
Go ahead, Ben. You're good.
All right, so I'll show you what I'm talking about when I'm looking for a shape here.
Jamie, you're gonna be up next, all right?
Okay.
All right.
So I just turned on a fill for the whole thing, and what it did was I filled the entire background shape with the yellow. So all we're seeing is the background, and so it'd be really cool to me to see this shape make sense of something. I think it's either a missed opportunity or maybe it is something that we're not seeing. You want to go?
Me?
Yeah.
I would get rid of the shape altogether. I'd focus on the hand. I think that's the most important part about it. It's the thing that's like the most deeply connected to the story of Midas. And then I think working with the hand, I think some of the shapes maybe could be simplified a little bit. Like I'm not sure if we really need this little hole in here. How do I make the brush smaller?
Just right click.
Oh, it's so tiny.
Yeah, it's like super small.
Okay. Like I don't know what this hole on the palm means.
I think that's just a divot in the palm. That's all that is. So I think this person maybe took a palm print and vectorized it
Okay.
and called it a day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not sure you need that to read it as a hand. Actually, you don't need it to read it as a hand. I think even this part right here could be simplified a little bit and focus on the hand. I think that's the mark. The frame to me doesn't add that much to the concept. The other thing I would recommend is maybe looking at some other things you could do with the type. This typeface, this kind of like all caps sans serif, while it's really clean, it feels so much more mechanical compared to this kind of more primitive style of illustration that you've used for the hand. So I think there could be a stronger connection between the style of both of those elements.
Mm-hmm.
Anything
And also
else?
to get really nitpicky, if you were going to stick to this, the kerning needs a little work.
Yeah.
Tighten up the space between the D and the A, or maybe loosen between the A and the S.
I was just going to draw on there.
Any other thoughts, guys?
That's it from our end.
All right. So maybe you guys can come back to me.
Okay. All right. I'm going to do this again.
Go ahead. When you do it, my screen will freak out. Then-
Should be you now.
Yeah? It hasn't. Yeah.
Oh.
Here it comes. Screen freaking out.
We do it?
And I'm back.
Yes.
And I'm back. All right. So let's see here. I'm going to go to my desktop. So
It's a great
Where's the
question.
program?
Didn't Body Glove have a similar logo in the 90s? And they did.
yes, it did.
It was the handprint.
Okay.
Pull it up.
So I have the handprint up here, and I'm thinking, all right, when we're generating ideas, when we think of Midas, what do we think about, guys? What do we think about?
Gold,
Gold. The touch.
touch.
And didn't Midas learn a lesson? Didn't something bad happen to him? King
Yeah,
Midas?
He turned his family to gold, right?
Yeah, something bad happened. There was a
Yeah.
tale of morality, or there was something that bad happened.
I'm associating like medieval times in there too.
It
I
is.
don't know why.
It's something. It feels like that, like biblical times or
Yeah.
something like that, right? So this is where I think you might want to generate lots of ideas and then try to figure out the one that seems a little bit unexpected. Okay, so when Ben Burns was talking about cliche before, if I gave this assignment to 100 people and said, you guys design the Midas logo, what are you going to do? Well, how many of those 100 people are going to do the hand?
In gold.
Right? So there's a couple of things. Let's say the hand is your best idea. I like basing your drawing less on real life and more on abstraction and using geometry. So if you draw the hand, I would start to look at circles and lines. So I'm going to switch over to my little IP viewer here. We're using all sorts of technology here, you guys, and I'm going to break something. Now, you know what? I just draw in Photoshop. Let's see what happens. I'm going to put my marker down for a different idea. Okay? So let's see. So Ben, you were in Photoshop too, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'll look at things like, let's get a circle in here. And I'm going to fill that circle with white because the hand can kind of be abstractly represented as a circle. And we really shouldn't be drawing this thing in Photoshop. This is a strange way for me to be doing this. And then I look at, come on, baby, work with me. Shoot, that's not. Let me try this. So if we can, that's not the tool I want. Let's see.
The people of YouTube are calling for the designer's input. And
Oh,
so
let's
RJ,
have him call in.
If you're out there, RJ, give Chris a call on Facebook. It's in the Messenger app at the bottom of your screen.
So this is horrible, guys. I apologize. So what I would do is try to design the mark. Is he on? RJ, you here? So I'm hastily drawing this live on the internet, so it's going to be bad, you guys. So I'm trying to look at geometry, right? And then I want to draw the thumb in here or something like that. Because I don't want it to just be like look like clip art, like you downloaded something off of Creative Market. Oh, I think I'm getting the call. Is that coming in? No. Whenever you get a chance, call me, dude. Maybe. All right?
Love that song.
You know, like I'm trying to look at the form and draw this thing with geometry. Like when you look at the Apple logo, it's an abstraction of the apple. It's not like a real apple. And that's kind of very illustrative, and I want to make it a symbol. I want to make it a graphic interpretation. So that's the first thing. So let's just say that the hand was awesome. Now this is not an awesome hand, but you guys understand where I'm going with this? You guys can give me your dead face right now. Guys, give me something like, yeah, man.
I mean, I was just cracking up at one of the comments that says, Wilson.
Right? So the other part to this is you want it to integrate. You need it to integrate with, come on, man. I don't want you, Acrobat. Acrobat's always asking me for something. It's very needy. Okay, so getting back to this, I want to see somehow if this can somehow integrate with Midas, the logo type. So I'm going to try something, guys. Cross your fingers. This is live. I should have said that at the beginning. And we are not rehearsed on any of this stuff, you guys. All right, so if it's really, really ugly, Ben apologizes in advance.
Wait, Ben apologized. What?
Yeah. You know, I got to throw somebody under the bus, and it's not going to be me. I need to be around here for tomorrow. Let's say accidents. Let's type in accidents. And I would do black, because I like accidents. But I don't like it in red, because, you know, we said that we're going to design this logo. Man, my computer's all laggy. I think it's the live feed that's killing me. Like maybe there's a way for us to integrate a little bit of the M somewhere. I don't know. Sometimes you come up with happy accidents, like in the negative space. In this case, I don't know if it's working, right? So I'm just hide this to the side. But I like geometric logos. That's for me. And
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by those things.
And also the hand, you know, there's this shape, right? And but there's a million other things that you could do with the hand. So if you needed to stick with the hand, you could do something different.
You could, and you have to be careful because a closed hand is like a different meaning altogether.
Mm-hmm. It's a different silhouette, but
right?
You know, it's like maybe it's a finger. There's just other ways to explore there.
Is he calling me? Oh, there he is. Yo, Rico, John Jambaro, call me. Call me right now. So I have one more idea to try.
Okay.
So he's gonna call me. Yeah, call me, dude. You guys here we go. Hey, Rico.
Rico.
Can you see me?
Hi, Chris.
Hey, man.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome to the show. Hey, so we're talking about your logo right now, the Midas. First of all, congratulations, and make sure you reach out to Ben Burns and give him your address so that we can send you your prize, okay? So Ben, you have questions for him. What's your question?
Yeah, so can you explain the process from just inception to how you got here?
Can you explain your process on how you got here, Rico? What's your...
So my concept here is, just like you said, the handprint for the hand, and for the shape of like you described, the jagged outline. It's supposed to be like a crumpled paper.
A crumpled paper.
Yeah.
Oh, like he used his hand to pick it up and then crumpled it and then set it back down?
Like he put his handprint and picked it up and set it back down?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Does that help you, Ben?
It's almost there. I think I don't know that it communicates.
But why does it crumple
that,
paper?
But
Because it's kind of, it could give a message that because it's for a students organization, for artists and designers for our university.
Yeah.
So the message that I want to give is to that we are not perfect, that we all have mistakes and something like that.
Okay. So we're all not perfect? That we're all flawed beings?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else you want to say before we kind of send you on your way, buddy?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks for calling in. And we're going to keep talking about your work, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Bye.
And I don't want anybody to get discouraged at this. I mean,
Who's getting discouraged?
keep Rico, keep trucking on this. Keep working on your skills. You're there. This is a critique, so I just don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Not that bad. It's softy. I don't know.
Is somebody's feelings getting hurt? Is somebody saying something, Ben?
No.
Okay.
Nobody's saying anything.
All right, guys.
Just
Here's my IP vote presenter. There's a little bit of a lag delay, and you guys can see it zoomed in on my hand here, you guys. So I was just thinking, when I think about gold in the hand, if I'm trying to avoid that kind of overused symbols, I'm wondering if I can draw something like this, like a brick of gold, and maybe use that as a shape. That's a horrible brick of gold, you guys. So maybe there's a square, and I can put in just Midas and keep it clean, and maybe then do something like this. Because I just like things that are really bold, and I want it to be clean. I'm using a super expensive fancy marker called Crayola.
Crayola,
Yeah.
wow.
Something like just very simple. I like simple geometry and just to hint at a concept and not to illustrate the whole thing. But that's just my preference. Okay? So I think that's it. We probably need to move on.
Yes.
Is that okay? Let's move on. All right. So let's now go back I'll close this file.
For those of you just tuning in, we are reviewing your logos. These logos were submitted 2 days ago. If you have a logo that you'd like us to review, maybe next time or the time after that, just tag us on Instagram and follow us on Facebook, and sign up for our email newsletter on our website at thefuture.com, and we'll let you know when the next one is.
Perfect. Thanks for doing that, Ben. While I find the next file. And this logo comes from, who does this person come from? Darn it. What is this?
This is Miguel Spinola. Spinola?
Oh, this is his personal logo.
Yeah.
Miguel Spinola. And this is a man after my own heart, I believe. This is some cut of Futura, right? It looks like Futura, but it could be a little bit different. And he's doing something super, super simple. And in this case, he's just using, this is a word mark, simple, clean typeface, all lowercase, and using bold and probably regular weight. Book? No, it's probably regular, right? Or medium.
Mm-hmm.
Medium and
Medium.
bold. And it's a clean logo. It doesn't mean anything, I don't think, but it's nice. It feels like a good design to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think?
For me, I want the M and the underscore to be a little bit
on it.
lighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you want to try a lighter version, right?
I want more contrast. And then getting really nitpicking, the kerning between the underscore and the letter S needs to be a little bit tighter.
So we're
Those are
gonna
the
try
only
that.
two things that I have to say about it.
Okay. Jamie?
I would just work on the spacing a little bit. I feel like that underscore is maybe a little bit too wide. Like I'm sure that's the actual underscore from the font, which is fine, but it's creating like a really huge gap, and I wonder if maybe the M should be a little bit closer.
Keep talking.
Maybe it's a little weird. It looks like the weight of the underscore kind of falls somewhere between the, like the regular and medium of the M versus the bold of your last name, which feels a little strange to me. In terms of contrast, it's the underscore itself to me is not, it's not far enough from either one. It's kind of right in the middle. And I guess it depends on how important is the underscore, what is the idea behind that, and if that's the key idea. Maybe play that up a little bit more even, but for me, it's just kind of not working hard enough, or just needs to be finessed a little bit.
I noticed something here, you guys. That's why I was a little suspicious that it may not be Futura, that it may be something that's kind of like Futura, like one of those bootleg fonts that kind of
The S
mimics
is
it.
definitely not
The S is
Futura,
throwing me out.
yeah.
It's not Futura, right? So you can see there's some weight differences, okay? So you guys can see the differences between Futura S, and then this looks a little more like a Helvetica S, where it terminates horizontally on the top and the bottom. What is that called? The tail, or the stroke of the S, how it terminates here?
Like right there.
You know what I'm talking about?
Terminal?
Terminal? I don't know what it's called. Well, anyways, so let's mark this up a little bit so that you guys can visualize this at home, okay? So I'm going to add another layer here. So what Mr. Burns is saying, and I agree with him, there's some spacing issues. We probably want to push it in that way a little bit. And what Jamie is saying is maybe just modify this a little bit, like it feels a little long, chop it off. So we're going to move it over, okay? And overall, when we're looking at a mark like this, we're just going to have to make the kerning perfect. And the very simple way of looking at kerning, I'm going to show you guys this, and those of you guys that didn't go to design school and are self-taught, what you do is you take any three letters. So let's just take the N, the O, and the L, okay? I'll show you what we're going to do. We're just going to focus our eyes on that. I'm going to turn off what I wrote here. Let me open this up a little bit. So if we just look at the N, the O, and the L, we have to say, how's the letter spacing? How's it? Does it look good, you guys?
If I'm getting really nitpicky, I would probably pull the L and the O tighter.
Jamie, what do you think?
Barely.
It looks fine to me.
It looks, I mean,
You've got a little opening at the shoulder of the N, so that's
you're talking about, I'm sorry, like this area?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're looking is for optical balance, right? And you're going to do this, not mathematically, and you kind of look at the volume of space here, and you want it to feel balanced, right? So I feel like this is pretty good. So until we print this out in high resolution, these kind of nudging it one pixel left or right, we won't really know. That feels pretty good, but you'll see that when people don't know what they're doing, this will be grossly not kerned correctly, where the L feels too far away or feels too close, etc. Okay? So then all you have to do is repeat this process, and now focus on the O, the L, and the A. And you keep, and it looks pretty balanced too. And this is easier to kern because the O and the A are two circular shapes against a vertical, so it's going to be easy. So that one you can almost measure the distance between the two and space it that way. And then you go for the I then and the O. That looks pretty good. So you gotta just keep doing it. The pin, you know, maybe the P and the I are a little bit far apart. I don't know. Feels a little bit off. So you might cheat the P in a little bit. So this is what you do. And this is what logo type designers do. And this is how they entertain themselves on a Friday night.
Speaking of entertainment, if you're interested in kerning, there's an amazing game online that you can practice your kerning. The
You gonna put the link in there? Just put it in.
Yeah, the URL is type.method.ac. It's super fun. Regardless of how long you've been doing design, you can see how good you are compared to some pretty heavy
I'm
hitters.
gonna have to try that.
It's
to
super
see how
fun.
good I am.
I spent hours
Jamie,
on it the other day.
you're gonna
on the
lose your life to
Saturday.
that game. Don't play it.
What
Don't
if it
even
tells me
try.
I'm bad, and then I just like don't know who I am anymore?
Okay.
Bad.
So before we wrap it up, I want to just review a little bit. Having greater contrast between the light and the bold is good versus medium and bold because they're very similar. And you have to kind of watch out for the underscore because the underscore seems like it's a third weight, which is throwing me off a little bit, Jamie.
Yeah.
So I feel like the underscore here should either lean towards this letter's weight or that one, but it's stuck in no man's land. So it's kind of funky. So this is where, like such a simple logo like this, you really need to pay attention to every little detail. And these letters line up all right next to each other, okay? But sometimes you'll have a funny letter. And this is where you get into ligatures and you design something custom so that it feels really good. Like you might chop off a letter or you might add something or extend something to solve a spacing problem, okay? Now, those of you guys that are a fan of Mr. Droplin, now he'll like to go in and do something like this. Let me try this. Let's see if it works. And you guys know what I'm talking about, Aaron Droplin, Mr. What is it? The Droplin Design Collective, DDC.
Mm-hmm.
So Droplin will do something like this. He'll take this and then he'll rotate it, and he wants to fill everything into a shape, you know? And then I saw a class he did recently, and he'll start to modify all the letters, you know, and like maybe the P goes across, and he's trying to fill in all the space to make a really tight lockup. Something like that. And you guys can do that. The problem here is you start to drift into making it illegible. Like the I becomes another letter and the P becomes something. It becomes harder and harder to read the more modifications you make to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, and you got to be careful that whatever modification you make doesn't make it look like a different letter. From a big distance. The circle with that kind of bracket around it kind of looks like a Roman A. Now
Yeah.
it doesn't because it went far enough, but yeah.
So the thing is, sometimes when you do these custom modifications and ligatures, you make it into a symbol and it takes it away out of the word mark because now it becomes so abstract. So just be mindful of that. That's all. You can get carried away with doing all these modifications, but something else that we don't pay attention to too much, and I want to explain it for a brief second here. The horizontal stroke is thinner than the vertical stroke, right? Mm-hmm. So when you take the vertical stroke and you rotate it 90 degrees, you kind of violated some kind of optical balance, and that becomes even trickier to manage now. Just something for you guys to mull over. Okay, we're gonna get out of this one.
All in all, though, thumbs up. Good job.
Good job, man. And we're gonna take our second break in 1 second. Okay, we're gonna take a second break and give you guys a chance to go to the bathroom. And I just have a quick ask for you guys. Aaron, if we can cut back to this, you need to go bathroom?
I needed to leave at 7.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Guys, Jamie, thanks for hanging out.
thank you for having me.
Round of digital
Good
applause.
job, guys.
Yay!
Put the clap
Internet
emojis
clap, clap.
in the comments.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Jamie. See you later.
Thank you.
Okay. We want to let you guys know. I need to tell you guys about our podcast. It's called The Future. Just walk out there. They'll take care of you, Jamie. All right. The podcast, we just
feel like.
It is.
we're still live, Jamie. Will you just get out? Yeah. Jamie, when you say you leave, just leave. Don't make a big outro. Okay. Anyways, we're still live. Come on. All right. The podcast. As I'm trying to do my commercial break here, we just dropped a new episode. It's he's a beatboxer and he's also a graphic designer studying design in Portland. He's got a super inspirational story. Even if you're not into beatboxing and hip hop culture, his name is Trung Bao, and we just dropped that podcast. And I have this big ask of you guys that everybody that's a fan of ours that wants to support us, even if you don't like a podcast, please check us out. We're on iTunes and we're up to like 19 episodes right now. And some of you guys have already done this, and I really, truly appreciate it. We've already got 12 ratings and a couple of comments. The ratings and the comments help us out a lot. And if you have any kind of criticism or suggestions or feedback, please just put it there. You know I read everything, so please put it up. And I'm going to give a big shout out to everybody that jumped on this in the last 24 hours. So thank you very much, Dan Clinton, Spencer Foster, Lance Mayfield. I think this is pronounced Red-Eyed Limitless. Jonathan Bradley Bates, Aaron Murray, I believe it was just Aaron M., and Matt E. I don't know who that is. Matt E. is a mystery person, but thank you very much, you guys. Please, just on behalf of me, I'm asking you, this is just kind of us. You know how much content we give you, and we give it for free. So please help us out. All right, let's jump back into it, Ben. Any questions from the people? That was break 2.
You guys, if you do have questions, just put it in the comments. We got a lot of applause for Jamie.
Yay,
Jamie's
Jamie.
really smart.
She is super smart.
She's like super good at her job, and I'm glad to,
Jamie's a
hang out
rock
with
star,
her.
you guys. We only employ rock star people. Somehow
Yeah.
we let Ben in, but yes, everybody else is a rock star.
I like snuck in
Yeah.
the back door.
Huh?
I'm adjusting his camera.
Okay, we're still live, right? Okay. All right, so while Ben gets an adjustment from Mark.
Adjust me.
All right, now that Jamie's out. Okay, who's this, Ben? Whose work is this?
All right, so this is Daily Gray from Greenville, North Carolina.
Daily Gray, Greenville, North Carolina. All right, here's a mark. And I honestly would have preferred you submit this without the image in the back. I just want to look at the logo. And presenting it this way actually makes it easy for me to critique it like straight on with nothing in there, okay?
Now, Daily Gray did give a description.
up.
I can read it real
Read
quick.
it.
He says, "This is my current logo. I'm entering in the contest to have my logo critiqued. I have it working as my current Twitter and just also in black and white. Originally, this logo was just circular, but I added in the outer corners as my passion for photography grew. Thanks for stopping by and all that good stuff.
Should we have Daily Gray call in?
Yeah, if you're online.
Daily Gray,
Give a call.
call in, buddy.
Specific instructions for that, go to Facebook, look Chris Doe up,
Friend me.
call him in the Messenger app.
Okay, so now we're looking at this on my screen. And let's see, let me jump into Chrome. Daily Gray. Daily Gray?
Daily Gray.
Daily Gray.
That's his Instagram handle.
Okay. So, Daily Gray, we're going to talk about your logo. So if you're here, give us a holler. Okay. So I'm confused by the logo. What's the guy's real name?
I don't know. It doesn't say on the
It doesn't say on
screenshot that I have.
Instagram?
No, let's see.
Usually it does.
I'll look it up.
Yeah. Okay, while we're figuring that out, before I totally jump in and do my thing. I hope you guys are enjoying this episode. I know it's hard to critique a logo like this. Really, I should have pencil and paper and just be jamming that way. And doing
Okay.
tissue overlays and that kind of stuff.
It could be Gray Keith.
Gray Keith?
Yeah.
Okay, that helps. That helps out a lot because I was going to tear this thing apart.
Gray Keith.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of more like a monogram, right?
Mhm.
Where you're combining more than one letter, sometimes 2 to 3,
Right.
right? And then you're kind of coming up with this classic mark that is a symbol
Mm-hmm.
made up of your name. So, what did you say? What's his name again?
Gray Keith. So I can kind of see the G and the K in there.
Yeah, so that's what we see. Gray Keith. Okay. All right, Ben, you want to take the first stab on this one?
Well, the first thing that I saw is a couple of just symbols that are overused. The power symbol turned sideways, you know, that circle shape with the line sticking straight up out of it. And then also the 4 corners for photography. It's just a little bit tongue-in-cheek. I would just, I'd encourage you to push a little bit more and just ideate a little bit more.
Ideate.
Yeah.
Like what? Do you have any suggestions?
You know, when my guys get stuck, I tell them just to hit the sketchbooks. So a great thing that you can do, a great exercise that you can do is try and do 50 sketches, thumbnail sketches in an hour. And what that does is it just like purges all the bad ideas out. You know, the first 20 are always going to be horrible. But then when you start to get really desperate, the creative ideas come. And so that's an awesome exercise to use. It gives you like literally a little bit over a minute per sketch, so there's no time to really think or critique, and it's just like this flood of ideas. So
So you're
that
like
would
a
be my-
tonnage guy. Like,
Yeah.
let's try lots and lots of ideas and then
Yeah.
step back and look at it.
Right.
And sometimes when you're dealing with purely graphic forms, that's what you do. I like to sit back and if I can try to come up with one that has an idea,
Mhm.
that's where I would start. So I actually don't like to draw at all. I just want to think about it for a little bit. Like, what am I trying to say, right? Is there a message in here? So sometimes this is where I kind of think, so you're a digital photographer, what is it about that? Maybe there's some kind of design that we can work out there, okay? So what you're saying is you've added this element here, these corners. Before it was just a circle. I don't mind it, you know, I think it's all right. It kind of shows the framing of something. That's cool. I'm just wondering like why he didn't connect the G so that it's a little bit easier for us to read. I mean, this is a very simple logo, so you can't go wrong really about the geometry. I would imagine this would reduce down really well, so overall good marks.
Here he goes. He's actually on YouTube chatting.
Oh,
So he said he had 175 sketches and that his professor told him that this was the best way to go.
okay, so he did go through the whole process. And I'm just debating right now if filling this part in, right here, Ben,
Mm-hmm.
would just actually, the power symbol isn't important, and I don't care about things being overused or whatever. I just wonder if that would just make it easier to read. It
Yeah.
left a lot of questions in my mind as to, is it G, is it a C, and that kind of stuff. So when you're doing these monograms, the people who are very successful at this tend to get all the letters in there, and it feels really harmonious, and they all
Yeah.
sync up. Okay, like this one looks good to me. I don't see anything inherently weird or funny about it. It's all good.
For me, the logo has to pass a simplicity test, and I think that this one has too much going on. I would get rid of the corners, definitely.
Oh, you
And
get
then
rid of the
just-
corners?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
just keep if it's going to be a monogram, just let it be a monogram.
Okay.
But again, that's me.
Well, I do the magic of Photoshop. I can remove these things, and we can see if it is actually any better. So I will hide that.
Okay, he says he's on Facebook, but he can't call in, and his full name is Christopher Gray Keith. So thank you, Chris.
Okay, so it's not a G. Christopher Cray.
Christopher Gray Keith. So
Oh, he got them all in there.
yeah,
Okay.
I see.
All right.
Now it's starting to make sense. The decisions.
Christopher Gray Keith. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's Ben Burns' version without the corners adding, and I actually don't mind the corners at all.
Yeah, and I think that it would be a little bit even more potent, powerful if you thickened up the lines too.
Probably.
You know,
Bump it up a couple of points.
That'd be just a little bit less white in there, and it'll kind of stand out more.
Yeah. All is good. All right. Good job, dude. Nice
job,
logo.
Chris.
I think you did do your exploration. All right. We'll close this one. Let's move on. We're going to do one more, right, Ben? We promised we'd
One
do
more.
5. Any internet questions? Let's turn to the internet real quick. It's 7:03. We got a few minutes here.
Okay, let's see. There's a lot of conversation going, but not a lot of questions.
That's
Guys,
cool.
If you do have questions, let us know.
All right. Here we go. We might end on this one, so let's make this one good.
Okay.
This, I know who this is from, Ben.
You do?
I do. I think it's from Jonathan Bradley Bates.
Oh, interesting.
Who's a fan of ours. He gave us a review on iTunes.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Right?
Well,
So-
thank you, Jonathan, and we're sorry for this.
Here we go.
If he wants to call in, can he?
Yes, he can. Please,
So, head to
Jonathan
Facebook.
Bradley Bates, give me a ring. I'm waiting for you right now. Oh, I need to. Oh, there's Greg Keith. I just accepted it. Oh, sorry, buddy. I missed you. Okay, Jonathan Bradley Bates, if you're online, please call us right now. In the meantime, Ben Burns and I are going to start talking about this ahead of you. Okay, is that him sending me? Okay, people are sending me all sorts of things right now. All right. Woo! Okay, and Jonathan Bradley Bates is a cinematographer, right? He's a videographer. It looks like
Yep.
he's holding a camera or something, right?
Cinematography identity.
Cinematography
what this
identity.
is.
Okay. Go ahead, Ben.
All right, so I'm going to do the good before.
Give me your, okay, do your
the
good
bad.
and then give me your top 2 critiques.
Okay, so the good is that you identified a shape that you wanted to pursue, and that's that kind of like downward V or triangle pointing down.
It's an inverted triangle, right?
Yeah, so that was I can see that happening. I would say that the biggest thing is like lose all the effects, right? So we don't want the paper in the background. We don't want the drop shadow. The photo in the background. Those things are not what makes the logo, so I would just lose them all. The second thing is that to have such a long name, it's really difficult to design a logo from it. So I would work on maybe either doing a monogram or switching it up so it's shorter and it can be immediately recognizable in a small space.
All right. All right, so here we go. Let's do this. So this is what you're talking about, right? Losing all the effects. What else did you say?
And then work on your naming and maybe create a brand or something that's a little bit shorter and then append it with your name or
Like what?
something like
What
that.
do you think?
I don't know, maybe J.B.B. or
J.B.B.?
just Bates
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. So let's try that, you guys. So we want to simplify it. Let me just kind of really drive this one home because Mr. Ben Burns is a very kind guy, and we want to be good to our people, not push anybody off a bridge. If you're a cinematographer, Jonathan, don't try to overdo and overwork your logo. Like you're trying too hard. You're trying to show creative muscles that maybe you haven't studied and perfected. And this may be where the disciplines don't always translate. It's kind of like the equivalent of a graphic designer producing his first film and using lens flares and every kind of trick you can imagine, throwing it all in there. That's the equivalent to what you're doing right now. So we would lose the paper, like Ben said. We would lose the outline because we don't like strokes. We like shapes.
Yep.
And we definitely don't want to put your face inside there holding the camera. It's like too many things. This will not translate well into other formats, right? If you think about reprinting this on a card, this automatically means it's a 4-color process thing or it's super complicated. So let's strip it down, okay? There is an ideal naming kind of thing where we're gonna go. So let's see what we do here. Ideally, you would have 2 to 3 syllables at most, 5 to 7 letters. And so we violated some of that already, okay? So let's duplicate this. And I'm not a big fan of doing centered type. And I don't know if we really need your middle name. So no offense to your father or your mother who named you, but I think we need to make some creative decisions and go for something that's very simple. So J. Bates might work, or just Bates, like Ben said, and just do it very, very simply.
Yep.
That's it. You don't need to do anything crazy. So here's where I would just go in, and eventually, if J. Bates works, and I know this violates the rule we told you to, just make sure it works in black and white. Maybe it's something as simple as that. Okay? Or just Bates.
And if you like that triangle shape, that's a strong shape, right? There's a ton of symbolism there. So maybe even just doing J.B.B. inside of a triangle.
Okay, that's one thing. Well, while you were talking there, Ben, I had a little thought.
Oh.
What if we did something like this? Where's my brush? Just fill in the counter.
Yeah.
That's one thing you can do.
There you go.
To make
There's
it
your triangle.
There's your triangle. And you can literally make it your triangle by blocking it off. I don't know if we need to do that because that shape becomes really bold,
Heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Becomes a little bit too heavy. So maybe it was better like that. So it's just one little modification. And I'm going to show you something here, you guys. I really believe this. If you pick a beautiful typeface, and we happen to be on Futur right now, if you just did this instead of being centered, because I don't like centered type, your mark would just look better. So I'm going to reduce this down. So now we have a problem, Ben. And I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
What's the problem?
Well, it's going to get lost when it gets small.
Right. So check this out. So if we think about this mark as a square, I'm going to try and fill this in. Let's see what happens here. Again, we're like live designing unrehearsed here, you guys, so a disaster may ensue. I need to create another layer. Okay.
And remember, while you're doing that, to speak to the face and the letters and holding the camera and things that you had in the original logo, a logo is never meant to explain. It's only meant to identify. So don't try to explain what you're doing, what you stand for. Just identify the company. That's it.
So here's one where I'm just filling up with some shapes. So I'm going to make it a mark, and it's going to be something that reduces down really small. Now this gives me a thought here. It almost looks like an American flag.
It does, yeah.
And so maybe that's a concept that you can work with. So let's try that. Let's see what happens there. Let's get crazy with this kind of stuff, right? So I'm going to group it with this. And I'm going to scale it down some more, and you're going to see like bold typefaces are going to help us, right? So I'm going to use this. I'm going to duplicate this layer, which is Command J. Move this guy down a little bit. Oops. I need to zoom in. A little bit of a lag here. Command T. I'm going to bring it out to here. What if I pull this out? There's some things that we can do that start to evoke a feeling, and it's just allowing ourselves to explore and being open to the little discoveries. God, it's just not snapping for me. All right, so we can keep playing around with that, and maybe it starts to look like something. I don't know.
Right.
Internets, did Jonathan call in? Jonathan, he looks like a pretty young guy.
I'm not
from his
seeing him.
picture.
He's not on YouTube. Let's
Okay,
check
that's
Facebook.
cool. So check out these 2 marks, you guys. Maybe you love it, maybe you hate it, maybe you hate us, whatever.
Oh,
Let
he
us
did.
know. Jonathan, you called?
Yeah.
Not me.
Yep, he said you missed my calls.
Okay, hold on. I don't see any notification. I'm not seeing you, dude.
Try
Is he
friending
calling
him,
Chris
Jonathan.
Doe? I'm looking at it right now.
So Anthony Smith kind of aligns with you. He says he closes his eyes and he sketches in his head before he ever
Perfect.
he ideates in
Just
here.
keep thinking. Think about it. Mull it over. Try to find the idea.
Yeah.
It works both ways, you guys, because I'm not gonna lie to you. Sometimes our designers will work on something, I see it, and because I come in with a fresh perspective, I'm like, oh, let's just make that one tweak, and you're so close to the idea. And because they're so close to it, they can't see it themselves. And
Right.
that's the art of collaboration, okay? Now, check this out, you guys. Internets, you tell us, did we make it worse, or did we make it better? And this is
Can you
subjective.
put both up?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it in a second, man. I'm trying to figure out my layer situation here. All right, I think I want to group these three with this one, and then, okay. What is that? Oh, I have a layer above. Okay, here we go. Okay, and then I'll hide this. Stick with me, internets, while I work through this problem. I need to scale this down a little bit, like about. I'm gonna make them all kind of about the same size. Did Jonathan call me yet?
He's still trying. A lot of people are saying better, much better, getting there.
Getting there. Okay, not perfect, but getting there. He'll throw me a bone?
Yeah.
All right. I think I need to merge these two. All right. So we're gonna present these in a second. So I think we started here, obviously. Let me do this and open up the canvas size, guys, with, is that him? That might be him. Greg Heath? Nope, not yet. I'm not seeing you, buddy. Are you sure you calling me? All right, whatever. We're here. I mean, if you are able to call in, that'd be awesome while we're talking about your logo. We're almost there, and I think we did this one.
So he says the original idea was to use his full name to stand out. And then he realized that his full name could become a triangle if centered. Triangles representing balance, professionalism, that kind of thing. There's a whole bunch of other symbolism with a downward-facing triangle too. It's I think it's like feminine. I'm going into like the Da Vinci Code here. It's feminine. It's the chalice. There's a whole bunch of other stuff.
You guys, I want to be really like, this is my anti-art school speak.
Uh-oh, here it comes.
Those things don't mean anything. Come on. It's a triangle.
See, I would challenge that. I think
Well,
they
you
do.
can challenge it.
They do mean stuff, especially
No,
when you look
because
at other cultures.
here's my test.
Okay.
Put the mark, a triangle, in front of 10 people. I guarantee you, ask them, what does this mean? And you get 10 totally different answers, and very few of them are going to be the answer you want. We get into this debate a lot. People think colors are symbols. Like it's symbolism, right?
Right.
And they're like, okay, so what does red mean? It's death and murder. I'm like, well, what about for Valentine's? Well, it means love. Well, what about for the holidays, for Christmas? Well, it means Saint Nick. It doesn't mean anything. It's just all this stuff. Like you stare at a blank canvas with a couple of strokes through it, and two art critics sit there and like talk about the meaning of life. You know what? It's freaking two strokes. Where I do see meaning is in the conceptual parts, like the logos that we looked at. We're like, wow, that's really clever. That's really smart. I see that. It's a communication. Otherwise, it's totally subjective. Go ahead.
I can see that. I can
Okay.
see that. I mean, I'm
That's the test,
no
right?
fine artist myself. But
Yeah. Well, you did study media arts, didn't you?
Right,
Right.
yeah.
There was the word arts in it.
yeah, liberal arts, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's like some things do mean things to cultures, to people, and so
Some things do.
if you come out with a logo that's like Verizon with a check, that's going to mean something, and so those meanings matter.
Well, a check is a check. I can see a check.
Yeah.
All right. Like that's a good thing. Check. Done. But if you throw a circle and you're like, the circle means the sun, the eye radiating heat and energy and positivity, I'm like, no, it doesn't. So let's look at this, you guys. Let's say Jonathan Bates is a really good photographer. Okay. And this is a pun, a visual pun. Here, I'm gonna do something, you guys. Let me try it on the right layer here. I don't know if that's the right layer. I'm gonna draw a little ellipse here. Okay, and I'm gonna go to edit, and I'm gonna fill it with a stroke. Let's do it center. Okay, Ben, you ready?
I'm ready.
Check it out. Jonathan Bates. What does that say?
That he's an angel?
He's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go yikes on that one.
That's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
showing you that at least then there's an idea that means something.
Sure.
Now you can debate the meaning of it, all that stuff, and I don't want to get into religious symbols and all that stuff.
Right.
But I'm saying that a circle can have meaning
Okay.
with a certain amount of context. That you could ask possibly 9 out of 10 people, and it's like, oh, there's a visual pun.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sure.
So I'm going to take that away, and some people might say, oh, is that a European umlaut or whatever it is, but whatever. All right, so internets, let's vote, you guys. Which version of these logos do you prefer?
Can we zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, we will. Thank you very much. And I'll hide
Okay,
all.
so vote. It's A, B, or C, left to right.
It's clear, right? A, B, or C. A is the original. B is their second iteration of it, just reducing his name down to Bates and then filling in the counter. That's the triangle that's in the middle, the counter. These are counters right here, the holes, if you will. And then this last one where we use his full name, Jonathan Bradley Bates, and we just added some bars to fill in the space. It's not meant to be any kind of meaning.
Whew. The votes are coming in really fast. It looks to me like it's really tied between B and C. We did have a couple of comments that says, well, it kind of looks like the Black Flag logo, which is a punk rock band.
Well, everything.
Yeah, okay.
You guys,
I get it.
guys.
Whatever.
All right, don't get me started on a rant, you people. Don't get me started on a rant. Everything looks like everything else. And here's the funny thing. As human beings, we try to find meaning in things. We try to connect things that we don't know to other things that we know. And then we kind of then say, well, that solution is not legitimate anymore. This is no reference to anything. This is really a design problem in solving the unique spacing in this configuration of his lockup. Mm-hmm. He's got a very short name and he's got a very long first name. So there's just a balance problem here, okay?
Yeah.
And if there's positive connotations to what we make, then great. So I drew 2 bars and we're like, oh, are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a flag.
Yep.
But we don't want to do a full up American flag because that's
Right.
cornball.
Right.
Little on the cheese whiz there, all right? So that's it. And everything's going to look like everything. So let's just get over that. All right. So people are voting B and C, so we made some improvements here.
Yeah.
I mean, your original logo, Jonathan, has too much going in it. It's got a picture within the mask. It's got an outline with a stitching effect. It's got a drop shadow on top of a crumpled piece of paper. It's like 5 too many tricks. The rule to logo design, in my opinion, is to do one embellishment. Each one of the solutions that we presented has just one embellishment, and that's it. Fill in the counter.
I love that
Fill
rule.
in the black space, and that's
Yep.
it. That's a rule that I learned from my instructor.
There's a good point, good comment on YouTube. I'm going to mess this name up. I'm sorry, dude. It's Mesenrale Aluwasolo.
Okay.
He votes B because it can be easily seen when he's squinting.
Beautiful. He's following the
Yeah,
rules.
he's following the rules.
Following the rules, right?
Good job, man.
Yeah. And see, like these things, because we didn't do anything too tricky, we started out with a really strong typeface, which is key. And then we just did one trick. And that means that hopefully Jonathan can use this for a good number of years before he gets tired of it. That's it. Okay? This is where you get into the argument with your clients like, oh, you just typed in a font. Okay? And then you can show them some other logo and say, well, this is the alternative. What do you prefer? All right. Guys, it is 7:20. I think we need to just open it up to questions if there are any. There are other logos in here, from my desktop here you guys can see. Let's see what else. We got Volaris. I can do a quick power crit if you guys want.
Jonathan says, I love it. I'm grateful for the advice.
All right. Jonathan, I'll send you an invoice for the logo that I've created for you. I'm just kidding. You've already paid in advance, so that one's on me.
That's right.
All right. Appreciate that, guys. Let's open it up to questions. Cheryl's hovering because... Oh, no reason. Okay. She just enjoys the show and wants to hover.
She likes your face.
All right.
Know.
So I'm going to do a quick power crit unless there are some questions. We're going to wrap it up in the next 5 minutes here. People? Anything, Ben?
No questions yet. Guys, put them in the comments. I know you have them.
All right. I got to get my keynote ready here because it's going to be cool.
Oh, everybody's excited for the lightning round.
Lightning round. So we're going to go in like 10 seconds if we have the lightning round. And it's going to be like a verbal assault.
That's a good idea. Philip wants to
say?
see a grid of logo submissions. That's kind of cool.
The
You can
grid?
also just
It's right
type
here.
in the
What are you
type
talking
in the hashtag in Instagram.
There it is.
The hashtag is the Futur Logo Critique,
There's the grid, you guys.
and there it is.
You ask and you shall receive. That's not all of them. But
No,
those
there
are the
were
ones that made it
50-some
kind of
submissions.
in time. There's a cutoff, you guys.
Yeah.
We can't be staying up all night. And I'm going to tell you one that I really like, this Bon Appetit one. And Ben doesn't like it, but I like it. And we're going to talk about that real quick. All right, here we go.
Ready? Go.
Sharpen the knives. Knives are sharpened. Here we go. This one is called Valares. And this one has an abstract symbol that's kind of like a V. And it terminates into the top of the V. There's some good things about it, but I don't like these overly rendered logos. And I want something really clean and modern. So what I would ask this person do is to do a black and white version, and that'll make you resolve the forms a little differently. I also think that the way the V, as it terminates into the Valaris logo, the shapes kind of need to line up in the width, and there needs to be a little bit more cohesion between these two things.
Yeah.
The next thing you can realize really quickly here, if you guys squint your eyes, the bottom of this ribbon disappears. It's gone. That's a value issue, okay?
Right.
So let's go back to basics, you guys. Let's design in black and white first.
Yep.
And you
touch
can
on
create
your
this
kerning.
illusion of the three-dimensional ribbon quite easily, okay? And then go into that,
Yep.
okay?
My
Make
two
sure you can
things-
reduce it down.
My two things: the kerning needs to be adjusted on this for the typeset, and then also it's really easy to look bad when it's black and white. I've seen these ribbon shapes before, and you definitely got to be careful with that.
Yep. Okay, let's move on. Let's see. Here's Matthew Benkart's work. And Matthew, I would have loved to critique this, but because you kind of did it at an angle, and I don't know what I'm looking at. There's so many different iterations, there's an outline version, but if I'm looking at the far left one, the red box and that lockup, it looks pretty good. It's a simple kind of bow tie shape, right? And the letter forms, what he's done is he subtracted some things from the X and the B and the E and the R, and it's consistent. It feels really good to me.
Yep.
If anything, I would make it a little bit bigger within the shape,
Yeah.
or bolder or something, just to occupy a little bit more space.
And there's something about that shape too, that kind of bowed.
Yeah.
The bottom of the Netflix version is kind of that bow, and I'm seeing that trend a lot in media where they're looking at using a curved baseline. So that's cool.
Okay. And it creates a kind of a sense of dimensionality while still being flat. And you can see here, Matthew is an Art Center trained designer, and he's interned here in the past. And of course, he's following all the rules, making it black and white, trying 160 versions of this thing.
Yep.
That's part of an identity design course, I'm sure.
Super
of it.
cool.
So good job there. Okay, Liam Shelley, graphic design. Okay, Liam, it's kind of tricky to combine all these different things. You've got this kind of hexagonal pattern. I'm not quite sure how that relates to anything. And so this is my thing. When you guys create abstract symbols, unless you're a big like marketing firm or a big brand, it's kind of hard to give these things meaning. I don't know what that means. I see an X. Is it like a hive? I don't quite fully understand it. And it's the most dominant thing here. The next thing is you've got basically three elements that have no relationship to each other. You've got a really nice, beautiful, it looks like Bauer Bodoni, but I'm not sure. It could be Dido as your main font. And then you have a simpler, what could be Helvetica down at the bottom. And you see how like they don't relate at all. How can you make these things relate? You can make these relate by using maybe Liam as the Bauer Bodoni, the serif typeface, and Shelley as a sans serif, and putting those two together. I think that would look really good. And then I don't know if you need this complicated symbol.
Right. I would just decrease it. Just if you like the hexagon, it's a super trendy shape right now. I love it. Just use one and do something cool with it. Put an L and the S inside the hexagon, or just keep it simple.
That works for me. Beautiful. Let's keep going here. All right. Boom. Sung Jin Bar and Grill. All right.
Whew.
There's a lot going on here, and there's a couple things. One, if you look at the Sung and the Jin and this circle needs to close in tighter to this the emblem itself. Two, I think you need to forget about these outlines. I don't like this kind of medium weight. It looks like 4-point stroke and then a 2-point stroke around it. None of these things seem to come together.
Yeah, and that stuff loses all, you can't see it when it's small. So
You can't see it, and that's the problem about shrinking this thing down. So what you want to do is you want to tighten up everything. Tighten up the circle, that the baseline of the Sung and the Jin, tighten it up. Bar and Grill, the same thing. This one might call for a more decorative display typeface, because I feel like Bar and Grill, it's got to have some flavor to it. You don't want it to feel clinical and sterile, and that's why like bars and kind of alcohol and liquor distilled spirits, they have kind of fun identities.
Yeah.
And here's a perfect example where you can tell a little bit of a story. Now,
Yeah.
I get it. Bar and grill. You see the grill marks in the back?
Sure.
And then you see a beer bottle?
Sure.
So this is where I think you guys, come on, let's explore a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, we're looking at trash. I mean, there's no cap on the bottle. This is something that somebody throws away. I would work on a completely different symbol.
Okay. Maybe tell the story about the bar owner, some kind of quirky historical thing.
Yeah.
People love that stuff. When you say, like, Mama Giuseppe or whatever is a secret Italian pasta sauce, and there's
Yeah.
a little grandma, and it's just this whole story from Sicily. I like that kind of stuff.
And right there,
for
the
this stuff.
Sung Jin is a cool, that I think that needs to be emphasized more than anything else. That's
Like
very
maybe
unique.
that's a decorative typeface you use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sung Jin, that's I've never seen that before. So
Okay. It's like it
Lean
must
on
be
that
Korean
name.
or something, right? Sungjin.
yeah.
All right. Geo altitude. Okay, this is probably some outdoor gear thing. I feel like it could be like rock climbing. I don't know. Okay, again, lots going on here. Geo altitude, and then this kind of abstract, what I think is a mountain. Overall, I think this is pretty good. I would just ask you to design the mountain so that it has occupies greater shapes and not thin lines, so that it reduces well. The letter forms seem to be consistent with each other in terms of the angles that you cut, so that's good. Maybe it's the altitude. I don't know what it is. One element in here is not quite right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird thing. It looks like a off-balance sandwich.
Right.
You got a big top and a little thick, tall thing in the middle and the bottom.
Yeah.
So the general rule is, you guys, the more elements you add, the more complicated the logo is, the more sophisticated you have to be as a designer. And this is where, if you're just getting started, just try to reduce things down a little bit.
Right.
So I think this is a balance thing. And I'm not going to get into this, but if you made the geo maybe as wide as the altitude, and then you brought the rock formation in a little bit, I think you start to achieve a little bit more harmony. Generally speaking, we've seen this trend with this group, and the trend is that they draw a symbol, and the symbol is just way too big and it overpowers everything.
Right.
I look at the reproduction of this, that mark, it needs a little bit more heft.
Well, and also, is it mountains? Because if it's mountains, that's you got to look at all the logos that are using mountains, and I would stick to the typeface. It looks unique, the way that they've done geo. I think that that's your strong point in the logo. Embrace
Yeah. So Ben and I may agree here or disagree, but I don't mind it. I just think it could be better designed. There's nothing wrong with using mountains, guys, especially if it's rock climbing gear. The last thing is the E and the O, the spacing is still too far apart. So I don't think you can actually bring the E and the O together. So what you have to do is push the G and the E a little bit farther apart. Because you can look at the negative space there and the negative space here. It's not quite right optically. All right, let's keep going. I think we're going to have to end on this group because I can't get into the under 25 votes, okay?
Okay.
Zilfei, natural quality linen. I like that this one's been presented with colors and all this kind of stuff, but for the sake of us critiquing this, just the Zilfei logo would have been perfect. It's a nice typeface. I think it's very elegant the way it's put together. I don't have a lot of, it feels pretty good to me. Ben, what do you have to say?
I like it. I especially like the smaller version, just because it's a little bit more dense.
Oh,
It's
you're
a
talking
little
about this
bit,
mark down in the bottom.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
I think it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's just enough detail where it's not too cluttered, and it's simple enough to be, really communicative. I'd say thumbs up on this one. I don't really have any negative critique.
Well, I have a little bit of a knock here.
Okay, go.
Okay, first, I want to just say that whatever this plant thing is, the way you drew it is really beautiful. This is a very beautiful drawn form. It's well balanced in the way you drew the leaf or whatever that is. I like that a lot. But here at the bottom, when you reduce it down, it's like when you scale the stroke, but the stroke doesn't scale with it.
Okay.
It gets a little bit thick here. Okay. And I don't mind it this way, but the little negative space starts to fill in. Can you see that, Ben, where my mouse is?
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's what I like. Is
Okay.
that it's a little bit more filled in, not as wispy.
All right, so here's the problem, though. These two belong together in a family.
Yes.
There's the problem.
Right.
So maybe what you do is you split the difference between these two weights, and so it works well small and big. So maybe the big is too thin, and the small is a little bit too thick. So split the difference, and then they're unified, okay?
Yep.
I also think that this horizontal bar, this box that's in here, I think you can vary the line weight. The main box here could be thicker while you have some thins, and I think it'll add a little bit of elegance to it. It has a little Art Deco vibe to it. And the last thing is this Z, is a serif Z. I don't know where the Z comes from. So then again, there's like a little bit kind of a a mix for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this is what you call an inline typeface, where there's a white stroke on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you got to make a decision here. What logo are we talking about? Okay.
Yep.
But very nice, very elegant, well done, Art 176. I'm sure that's your real name. Hopspot, Guia Cervejero, from Paul Opris. Okay, Ben, you take it.
Okay, so from the get, it's really creative. Like the hop shape and the what do you call that? A marker, map marker. That combination is really cool. I'm not a fan of the way that the type is combined there. I'd like to see something different. For me, I'd like Hopspot to be in a thinner font, and then the what is that? Cervejero, whatever's below that, to be in a thicker font and a little bit more spaced out and smaller. I think that would be good contrast between the really thick, heavy icon and the thinner Hopspot.
Yeah, I don't know anything about beer, so this is hops from beer.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
I don't know anything about that, so Ben recognized it right away, and I think it's a nice kind of an idea. You know, you have the spot marker, and then you have something that represents beer, and this is for a brewer's guide, a supplier's directory.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. This is where Paul is really thinking about things. My main critique here is I want these lines to be parallel. They taper in a little bit, and this is just a nut in me. I just want things to be parallel. Now,
Yeah.
maybe in real life they're at angles, but this is the job of the designer to kind of just make little decisions and edit a little bit. You have an editorial eye, okay? I actually like this configuration quite a bit. It works for me. Hopspot is a nice classic typeface. It doesn't feel, it's not jumping out at me as some weird typeface. And the secondary typeface is about the right scale and right weight. So it's a winner for me. Tighten this up here. That's the part that bugs me.
I'd also caution to, any icon that's on fonticons.com or Linotype icon, those icons that are used in web design a lot, I would caution you about using those in a logo. However, the way that he's changed the icon to fit this hop shape, I think that it kind of clears that bar.
Okay, great. Excellent. Let's keep going. Next, Bon Appetit. This is one of my favorite logos of this submission. And you're going to be a little surprised because you think, like, I'm into black letter Gothic from the Blind logo. I'm into ultra-modern things like Helvetica and Futura and all that kind of stuff. But this is a really nice idea. It says Bon Appetit, which is a little play there, like Bon Appetit from, like it's spelled phonetically, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's French. It's like good appetite, right, to eat. And then it's a chef's hat, but it's also a bone. And it's really well drawn. This is one of those ones where you create the illusion of dimensionality by using thick and thins without relying on gradients and all that other stuff. It's a nice, smart logo. I could see this in some kind of book where they appreciate logos like this. It's awesome. Like the T's across the appetit and then the little accent mark. It's nice. Ben, your turn.
Okay, so I can totally appreciate this logo. I like it. I think that the execution of the hat and bone, it's close, but I would encourage them to keep tweaking. I think that the circular part at the end or the bottom of the bone piece kind of throws it. It looks way more like a hat than it does a bone to me. And then I would also look at the balance between the icon and the type. I think the icon's a little bit big.
Okay, so I love it. I would give you a 96% grade right there, Eric Cruz. Good job.
You got like a 92 from me.
All right.
I'm being really nitpicky.
Okay, Atoric Design, which is Jacob, right? Jacob Campbell. Okay, this is the 803, I think, the click. And let's see, part of a repost. I don't have any context. It is 803, the click. All right. Whew. All right. You guys know how I feel about this. I do not love outlines, guys. Just fill in the shapes and it'll be much better. This is one where, just out of the gate, it feels like really dated to me. It feels like it's ready for a 90s rock band, and it's pulled back into time. So if
Yeah.
you're going for that super retro look, I get it. I'm just not a big fan of it.
Right.
And even in this, there's only three things. 803, which I can read it, but I have to work at it a little bit. And then the second part is really thick compared to click. So there's some weight differences, and it feels, like there's too many tricks going on here.
Well, and I think that there's a type crime going on here too.
What is that?
Where the word "the" has been compressed and not scaled, and so whenever you take a typeface and squish it, vertically, funny things start happening.
What are those funny things?
You notice that like the angle of the italics is weird, so it doesn't match the word click, and then the spacing, just the proportions of the letters are all off.
All right, let me help you out.
Please do.
Just call me Lifeline, dude. Just call me Lifeline to help you out. You guys, when you stretch type, you change the proportions of the vertical and the crossbars, okay? We know that the verticals have to be thicker than the crossbars, and when you look at this, the crossbar, the T, the H, and the E is too thick. It makes it look off balance. So that's how Ben picked up on that right away. Let's keep going. We're almost done. We're into the final stretch here. Mi Alusola. Let's see, reunion positive nostalgia. Okay, so it's reunion logo. All right, this kind of has like 5 too many tricks.
Yep.
Let's count the tricks. So we have the reunion, and then there's a punch, like a boxing glove. It hits the O, and the O is like, oh, I got knocked out.
Oh man.
And then there's this box around it, and then it circles between like 2 hands shaking, and it's maybe like racial unity. I don't know what's going on. Too many tricks, man. This is where I think it's being cute and too whimsical, and there's a time and place for that. Like for kids brands, I think that's okay.
Right.
Like if you're gonna do something for Oshkosh or J.B.B, that's fine.
Even though.
So that's it, you know. I think you could have easily done something where 2 hands shake and they're like they make the shape of a heart. I don't know. Just something very simple and do a simple typeface and use the classic typefaces, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And
Anything
I would
else you wanna
say
add?
just strip everything off. Like keep the word reunion and the punch, and that might be a good mark. Everything else is too much.
All right. Okay, last one. This is by Kevin Bishop. What up, Kevin? A new identity for a team I've worked on the past couple of weeks. Good fun and entering into the world of motorsport. So there's a motorsport thing, and this feels like one of those motorsport brands, like Honda, the classic wings, you know, that kind of stuff. So Team Motorsport. Am I saying it right? All right. Here's a couple of problems I have with this. Is it Team Motorsport 10? Ben, what do you think?
I didn't notice that before until just now.
And if it is, okay, like, here's what I think. Sometimes you guys try to make everything line up perfectly, so you scale the type and it just becomes this force justified thing, but then all the weights get thrown off, okay? There's so much going on now with the wings, the team, and the 10, and I think any one of these things could be good.
Yeah.
The wings used in motorsports, it's used a lot. I would probably want to spend more time designing the wing.
Right.
Like maybe that has to be perfect. And this is where I have issues with integration. Every time you guys come up with one of these symbols, it's hard to make it work with the typeface underneath.
Yes.
It's really difficult, you guys.
Yep.
It's about balance and scale and kind of looking at how the two integrate. And I'm having some problems there. If I look at the individual elements, they're fine. Together, it's not gelling for me. And one thing in particular with the 10, because it's kind of forcing that shape and that pulling that out, there's a little bit too much of a gap between the M and the 1, you know, in terms of cutting that off.
Well, I think that's an effort to not rely on color, which I can respect, but in execution, I just don't see it. This is kind of where, as a designer, as a creative director, I would recommend to the client, you know, what if we just did id moto? And then you wouldn't have like a hierarchy problem, you know, by just tweaking the name a tiny bit, you could do id moto and then emphasize the 10 and not even worry about the wing.
Yeah. This is one of these things where, Kevin, I feel like you're good. This is a good logo, but it's not a great logo. And it's because one of those things is a little bit off. And I'd have to sit down and do numerous tissues with you and kind of go through ideation with you to kind of solve it. Like it feels good on first glance, but then it's something that's thrown me off. All right? You guys, I think that's it for me. I'm kind of at the end of our session here, and I'm going to send us off here. This is the end here, you guys. And I'm going to play us out. Ben Burns, you want to say anything to the people?
No. Thanks for submitting. This was fun.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe below and like this video, and we'll continue to give you guys feedback or comments if you guys ask the question. So here we are. Here's the credits.